Hello, I'm Bob McFarlane, a software developer with Scripty Systems. I'll be your host as we take a look at working with strips in Scheduler. As you know, strips are individual scenes or parts of scenes that need to be shot. The name comes from the old days when someone would write the scene or part of the scene that needed to be shot on a strip of paper and then hang it on a wall along a timeline that would be used as the schedule. I believe they kind of look like the paper you might find hanging on the bulletin board of the supermarket advertising a babysitting service. You would tear off one of the strips that had the phone number on it. Well, let's take a look at strips in Scheduler. As you may remember from a previous video, when you import a script, a strip is created for each scene. You can then add additional strips for scenes or strips for location scouts, costume fittings, and many other things that need to be scheduled that don't apply to a particular scene. We call those to-do strips. You can access strips from many places. The main scene window, which you see here, or from a strip board. To get into the details of a strip, just double-click on it in the list or click the circled arrow and the strip detail window opens. I'll open the first strip in the strip board. First, notice the pointer at the top right. This allows you to move to the next strip in the list. I'll click it. Another pointer has appeared on the upper left to allow you to move to the previous strip. These pointers work from the context from where you came. In this case, I opened the strip from the strip board, so moving from strip to strip will move up and down the strips in the strip board. If I had opened it from within a scene where I had just 3 strips, the pointers would move me from strip to strip in that list of 3 strips. You'll find these pointers throughout Scheduler, and they are always context sensitive like that. Let's take a tour of the strip window. There's a lot to see, so you might want to pause and grab a cup of coffee. At the top, we have this button that looks like a couple of tickets. That's the copy button. Click it to make a copy of this strip in case you need to split off part of it. Over here, we have the scene or title. When a strip is created during a script import, the title is simply set to the scene number, but you can call it anything you want. Just change the title. Next, we have the phase that this strip applies to. If you watched the calendars video, you learned about the phases that are available for scheduling. I'll click the drop-down to remind you. You can create strips and to-dos for any phase and set up strip boards to use as schedules. All those items will then appear in the master calendar. Next to the phase is the type. This is very important to understand. We've configured several different types of strips. The default type can be configured in Preferences. I won't go into that now, but I'll explain what the effect is. Each type can be configured with certain departments that are required for that type of strip. Most of the strips will be shooting strips that include most every department. You can see all the departments in the Departments Elements list here on the left. You can use these strip types to avoid having to wade through a bunch of unnecessary departments for to-dos like a costume fitting that only require a small number of departments. The departments that are included for a strip or to-do affects the crew members who are listed that need to be involved. A strip will pull in all applicable crew members based on the departments included in the strip. If you don't take advantage of the strip types, you may have a grip showing up for a costume fitting. You know what? Let's take a quick look at the configuration of the strip types. Here is the list of pre-configured strip types. Let's take a look at To Shoot, the one used in the strip. On the right are all of the available departments with those that have been selected at the top of the list. I'll scroll down to show you. If you need to remove a department, uncheck the box. Check the box to include a department. Now you can also arrange the order in which the departments will appear in the strip by dragging them around like this. Now let's look at the hair makeup test. We have only those departments that are necessary for a hair makeup test. So if you schedule a hair makeup test, only the necessary departments and therefore only the necessary crew will be included in the strip and then carried over to the call sheet. Notice the checkbox at the bottom left. If you have this checked, these changes will be posted to the master preferences for use in future projects. If you do change the order of the departments within a strip type, you can update the list in all the existing strips by clicking the button in the bottom right. If you went to the trouble of changing the order, you probably want it to show up in all the strips. So while we're here, there are some additional options you can configure for each strip type. I'll double-click a strip type or click on the circled arrow. Here is where you can change the title of the strip type. You can also set the crew that gets included in the strip and the call sheet for this type. In the hair makeup test, we only need the department heads and the strip board approvers. So remember when I talked about the crew getting pulled into the strip based on the departments? These settings further limit the crew that gets pulled in. When crew are added to the production, they are assigned one or more roles that gives them different permissions within the file. These are the roles. If a crew member has been assigned in one of these roles, they will get included in this strip and therefore the schedule. Now we'll get into that more in depth in another video that talks about adding cast and crew to the project. I'll just cancel this for now, and I'll close the strip types window so we can get back to the strip itself. All right, where were we? The strip type. Next to that, you can see the date this strip is scheduled based on the strip board. On the next line, you can enter a detailed description of the strip if you want. You can select the location where the strip will actually be shot, click the search button to select a location you may have already entered, or to add a new location. I have none in the list for this project so far, but I may have stored locations in my master list for use in all my projects. To search that list, just click the padlock. I seem to have a hotel lobby saved. I'll click the plus button to add a new location. I'll go ahead and type in the name of the location. You can see all the information you can enter for locations. You can even link to Apple Maps and Google Maps. The availability section allows you to enter date ranges and times of day when this location is or is not available, so you don't accidentally schedule to use a location when it's not available. You can also add attachments such as maps or blueprints, location scout photos, etc. for easy reference. You can go ahead and play around with all the info for a location when you have a chance. I won't go into much more detail now. But one thing to note is the checkbox in the upper right that says Add to Saved List. If this is checked, the location will be added to your master list for use in future projects. Kind of like a contacts list. If this is a location you frequently use, you should check the box and save it to the master list. I'll go ahead and close the location window for now. Right below the location is the estimated time for setup, the duration of the actual shoot, and the estimated time to break down the set. These fields are all optional. If you have these times entered, you can have Scheduler insert day breaks for a strip board based on the duration of each strip and the total hours per workday that was configured for that unit's calendar. Again, you don't have to use these fields if you don't want to. Next, we have the eighths of pages. This is calculated for each scene when the script is imported and passed in when the strip is created. As you add multiple strips for a scene, you can modify the eighths for each strip if you want to. Okay, let's get into the meat, or the beans if you're a vegetarian. Let's take a look at adding elements. You can add an element simply by clicking the reminder button. That's the hand with the string tied around the finger. You're probably asking, which one? There are so many. If you click the one over on the right, you'll have to pick the departments that the element applies to. If you click one in a department row, it will select it for you. Just clicking one of those buttons is fine, but you can also highlight something in the script and create an element from the selected item. Anytime anyone clicks on the item in the list, the selected text will be highlighted in the script so they know exactly what you were talking about. I'll show you. I'll highlight an item in the script. Now I'll click the Reminder or Element button for Property. The Add Element window opens. I'll scroll down in the affected departments list and you can see that Property is selected. You can select additional departments if applicable. I'm going to select Catering since we'll need some food for the buffet table. Notice that the new element has defaulted to the selected script text. You can change that if you like and call the element itself something else. For example, if the script refers to a gun in one place and a Colt 45 in another, but you know they are the same gun, you can call the element the Colt 45, but highlight the gun in the text so that everyone knows that gun is the same Colt 45. I'll go ahead and give the element a description. That description goes with the element itself, which can be added to other strips. I can also make notes about the element specific to this strip. If this element applies to one or more specific characters, you can select them in the list on the right. For now, I'll just click Save. Notice that the element with the note I entered has been added to the Property and Catering departments. You can also see there's a checkbox to include this element on the call sheet. You may need to add some elements for your own reference, but not want them on the call sheet. Now you can go back and edit the notes for the element by double-clicking on it or by clicking the circled arrow. And you can remove the element from a department by clicking the trash can. Just so I can show you something, I'm going to navigate to another strip. Notice the highlighted words in the script. This strip was created from the highlighted text in the script. When you see highlighted text, you'll know that this strip applies only to the highlighted part of the script and not the entire scene. I'm going to click the Add Element button for Property. Notice that the item I selected before is in the selected department's element list. You can check the checkbox to add it to this strip. I'm just showing you this so that you know that each element you add becomes available to add to other strips. You don't have to keep typing them in over and over. All right, I'm going to close this window and navigate to our first strip. Now you can rearrange the departments in the list if you like. Just drag a department row to a different location. I'll drag catering up under property since they kind of go together in this case. The button in each department row that looks like 3 human profiles is the additional crew button. Click this to add additional crew that may be required in order to shoot this strip. Maybe in the camera department we need a crane operator. I'll click the additional crew button in the camera row. The additional crew window opens with the camera department selected. You'll select the title from the drop-down. Now I don't see crane operator in the list, so I'll type it in. When I tab out, it tells me it's not in the list and asks if I want to add it. I'll go ahead and add it. Now we only need one, so I'll type that in and click Save. And our crane operator is added to our breakdown. So I guess we're going to need that crane. I'll click the tractor icon, which is for special equipment. Now I don't see a crane in the list, so I'll type it in and press Tab. That's a good habit to get into. Whenever you type something in some edit box, press Tab when you're done to lock it in. Again, it asks if I want to add it. I'll click Yes. And again, we just need one. You can see that a special equipment section has been added to the camera department with our crane listed. Those items will come into play in the call sheet, which we'll cover in another video. There are a couple of special items at the bottom of this list: non-departmental additional crew and non-departmental special equipment. These can be used for odd things that may be needed but that don't fit into a specific department. They will carry through to the call sheet. Now once you have a strip all broken down with your elements, special equipment, and additional crew, and you go to another strip at the same location with the same or similar requirements, you can copy all those things to the new strip by clicking the Copy From Strip button. I'll click it and it pops up a list of strips that have elements. You pick the strip you want to copy from and click Save. Okay, moving on. When the script was imported, a strip was created for each scene, but you're not limited to one scene per strip. You can have a strip that covers multiple scenes. To add additional scenes to the strip, click the Film Strip button. A list of scenes not already in the strip is presented. Select the scenes you want to add and click Save. If you need to remove a scene, click the trash can and select the scene you want to remove. I'll just cancel for now. One other button I need to explain: the padlock. When a strip was created by highlighting text in the script, that text will be highlighted when you open the strip. If a revision was imported, the scene could have been changed to the point where the highlighted text is no longer there. The import process does a great job of finding text that may have moved due to changes, but there could be places where the text is no longer there or the highlights are no longer correct. Or maybe you missed something when selecting text in the first place. Click the padlock to fix those issues. A rewind button appears which will erase all the current highlights. You can then go through and highlight new text. And when you're done, click the padlock again to lock them in. All right, let's move on to the Notes tab. Pretty simple here. Just click the plus button, type your note, and if you don't want anyone else to see it, check the private button, then click Save. I'm going to add another note just for fun. All right, now that I have multiple notes, I can arrange the order by dragging them around. Maybe you want to create a prioritized list. To delete a note, just select it in the list and click the trash can. Okay, let's move on to the Production and Crew tab. This tab is interesting because it tells you who is scheduled in each department based on every active strip board. As crew are added to a unit, there's an option to add them to all applicable strips. This is where they are added. This happens automatically, but you may want someone in particular on set just for this strip. You can add someone to the strip provided there are people in the unit and department to add. I'll show you what I mean. First, I'm going to remove one person by selecting them in the list and clicking the trash can. I'll click the plus button to add someone. The list of personnel in the continuity department is presented. I'll select Doug and click Save. Doug is added back into the strip. All right, let's move on to the Characters tab. This is the list of characters from the scene. You can add additional characters that may not have had dialogue, but you need for shooting the strip. Click the plus button to add any additional characters. I'll click it and we get the list of all the characters who are not already included in this strip. I'll pick the stunt double. Notice a message pops up telling me that the character I selected is not in the scene and asking me if I want to add them to the scene. Why would I want to do that? If I add any new strips for the same scene, I won't have to manually add them to the new strip. They will be added automatically because they are in a scene. I'll go ahead and click Yes. To remove a character from a strip, just select them in the list and click the trash can. All right, let's move down the line to the Extras tab. We need some art gallery patrons. I'll go ahead and click the plus button. I can pick the extra type from the drop-down if I've already added them, or type the extra type in and tab out. I'll do that since the type I want is not in the list. I confirm that I want to add them, and I'll enter the number required as 10 and save. If there are any other scenes at the same location as the scene or scenes in this strip, a list of the strips will pop up, giving me the chance to add the same extra type to those strips as well, as it is highly likely we'll need them. You can uncheck any strips you don't want to include by clicking on them in the list. When you've made your selections, click Save. You just saved yourself the trouble of adding the extras to those strips. Now the patrons are added to the list here, and it shows when they will be needed based on the various strip board schedules. All right, let's hit the last tab and get out of here. Attachments. You can use attachments for things like a layout of the set or blueprints of a building or maybe photos of the location. The easiest way to add an attachment is to just drag the image file or the PDF or whatever it is and drop it onto the list, like this. If you need to edit it, double-click on it in the list. I can change the description and even mark it as private. Then save it. If you click on the thumbnail, it will open the actual file, the Edit Attachment window, and a pop-up message that if you make changes to the document, be sure to click the Save button to pull in the new version of the file. Maybe it was a Pages document that you modified, for example. Deleting an attachment is just like deleting other things. Select it in the list and click the trash can. Well, I think you're ready to complete your breakdown. You know everything there is to know about strips. So go to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.